In our last episode, we went and checked out the feral horses near Kleinhuis Vista in the Namibia Kloof National Park. This episode, we're checking out Sessriem and Soussasvlei, and if I were you, I wouldn't miss a minute. When I consider our history as a species, human beings have been nomadic scavenging beach bums and bush babies for far longer than we've lived in houses or had running water. If it squirted, squeaked or breathed, it invariably ended up being slapped on the coals and cooked in the great outdoors. And it's only in the last couple of 100 years or so that we've forgotten the knowledge that made us the most successful hunter-gatherers and gastronomic kings and queens on the planet. My name is Justin Bonello and welcome to Cooked. Sometimes when you undertake a journey through a country you've never been to before, you kind of get cooped up with a ground-level perspective. And you know, Namibia is one of those places that you can only truly understand when you see it from the sky. And as the hot air balloon takes you up and you can see from horizon to horizon, you get to a stage where literally your mind can't even process the beauty anymore. And you realize that Namibia really is the painted landscape. And I'm beginning to realize how sad I'm going to be to leave Namibia. It truly is magnificent. You know, the last thing I expected was a full champagne breakfast when we arrived, and I can tell you that with Andrea and Paul's help, Paul our pilot and Andrea our host, this is a professionally run outfit. If you ever have the opportunity, do this. In fact, I think it's going to make my spit look a bit pedestrian by comparison, but what a way, huh? Up in the sky at sunrise, come down, champagne breakfast. Absolute pleasure here in Namibia. So I'm going to go and have breakfast.
Oh, it's crashing the roadside. It's weighing me down. It's laying me low. These discarded carrier bags, they know.
Now, considering we cooked, the only appropriate thing we could eat for our last episode in Namibia would be our national symbol, which happens to be a springbok. So after we arrive at Soussasvlei in the Namibia Kloof National Park, I've got a little plan for this guy. But I think first, I've got to make myself a little ice lolly to kill the heat.
They know. All these things I've discarded, they know.
It's the middle of the day, it's piping hot out there. Only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun, so we're sitting under the shade of this camelthorn tree. Behind me, the sociable weavers and the LBJs, little black jobbies, are making merry in the shade. And I'm going to make you a little bit of a tin cup lolly, because it is so hot out here, and the guys can eat that a little bit later on when we go to Sessriem Canyon. Some syrup from a tin peaches. Some pineapple, some orange juice, some pears, a little bit of lemon juice. We'll chuck in all the tin fruit as well. Peaches, And then we're going to add just a little bit of water to thin this out, because otherwise it's going to be sickly sweet, and you don't want that. And then I've got some choc mint here. My sister, my wiser sister, she likes to say sometimes, suggested an innovation. So you take a plastic bag, tin mug, and you drop the bag into the mug, and then just do that. So it's edged around it, and then you pour in a little bit of the fruit juice with all the goodies. That one's got lots of seeds in it for someone. Drop in a spoon like that, and then tie a bit of string around it, just to help it along. And then what will happen is when we freeze these up, you'll have an instant ice lolly. So that's it, guys. All that's left to do is throw these into a freezer for, if you're in a city, probably an hour. Out in the desert here, it's going to take up to 3 hours. And then you'll have a perfect fruit lolly to suck on. Sessriem Canyon, 50 million years old. Not as big as the Fish River Canyon or even the Grand Canyon. In fact, it's tiny, but it's just as majestic.
It's only in the desert that you can ever understand that an ice lolly has more value than the fanciest meal prepared in a 3-star Michelin restaurant. How's this canyon? You can touch it from side to side via your outstretched hands. That's how small it is. My ice lolly, however, is worth more than its weight in gold. So for our second last day in Namibia, I was determined to fit in as much sightseeing as possible, and we had heard that Jennifer Lopez had filmed a portion of her movie The Cell at Dead Flay. So we packed up and strolled in. Now let me just tell you a little bit of Namibian folklore here. Now J-Lo, she wanted to be flown in by helicopter every day, and the Namibian government would hear nothing of it. She had to walk the same path we're walking right now to get to set every day. And I'm sure you can recognize the scene in a couple of seconds. It's the one where the tree comes to life and all the rest. Not? Well, it doesn't matter. But the amazing thing is that these trees in the background are more than 700 years old.
You know, for our second last night here, we thought we'd use up as much as what we've got left. So we've got a spit that Garth and Walt are going to do for us. I'm going to make some potatoes with marshmallows, sweet potatoes with marshmallows and some green beans and stuff, and it's going to be a long afternoon. It's 1 o'clock now, and we're only going to eat at about 6 o'clock, eh, guys?
Yeah.
So, Gareth, do you want to just talk that through, and I'm going to start getting my other stuff together.
Is it Gareth or Garth?
Did I say Garth?
Yeah.
Oh, you know me, I tongue twist, eh?
Not the last. Okay, to dress the springbok, all we've done is just cut through on the joints here to flatten it. Pretty simple. Just want to do, I've got some of the fat there, which I'm going to put in a pan just now, with some olive oil, just so we can baste the inside of the rib cage, the neck, places like that it doesn't dry out. Bit of braai spice, salt, black pepper, and then later when it's just about cooked, we're going to do a sauce with some black cherries, something sweet just to glaze it with. And that's it. The rest is just sit and wait and drink a couple of Coronas, enjoy the view.
Go and swim in the swimming pool, eh?
This is a good plan.
This is where the devil comes for his holiday, eh?
We'll have to take shifts. Someone watch the fire and...
This is it's stinking hot.
I'm just going to get that started.
So that's it, guys. We're going to walk away. And in about 3 hours' time, I'll make you up some bread, some sweet potato with marshmallows, some green beans with paprika, and then we should be about ready to eat. Tonight is going to rock. It's like our end of tour bang.
We're quite good at those.
Yes, we are. Corona's on the go, vino's being chilled down. Big fire, big food. Yeah.
My funny little jellyfish. Swimming on the ocean. Now you washed up on the beach. You had no destination, so far out of reach, caught in the currents of some distant shore, looking for adventure, never knowing.
Now, cooking in the great outdoors isn't exactly easy, can promise you that. Although we make it look easy, 5 or 6 hours standing out in the baking sun is hard. Making a spit out of some tent poles, that's even harder.
The Springbok's been on the go for like 4.5, 5 hours. It is beginning to look exquisite.
And all that's left to do is get Gareth to make a sweet glazed sauce for the Springbok with the juice of 2 oranges, some black cherry syrup, a good squeeze of honey, some pepper and salt, and 2 roughly chopped chilies for that extra little bit of bite, and some red wine, because Springbok and red wine, they rock.
It's going to be magnificent.
Better.
This is how hot it is.
Okay, now that there's only about an hour to go,
The first thing I've got to do is make up some bread. And that's really straightforward. A teaspoon of salt, teaspoon sugar, 60 grams of butter, 110 mils of lukewarm water, and in here, 400 grams of flour, 2 eggs, and 10 grams of yeast. So you're going to take your dry ingredients first, chuck them in. You're going to take a little bit of lukewarm water in a dish, sprinkle your yeast in there, sprinkle a little bit of this flour on top, and then leave it in a nice warm spot. Here will do. Anywhere here will do. In fact, it's so hot. Then you're going to chuck your butter into the flour and just work it in. Add in your sugar, salt. Then what you're going to do is lightly beat up your eggs. So just break them into the bowl. And when the yeast mixture's started rising up a bit, we'll mix that, fold that into here and chuck it into the flour. Start mixing that up. Might need to add a little bit of water. That's what the 110 mils of warm water is for. And then you work this dough until you have a soft, smooth dough. And then what we'll do is cover the bowl in cling wrap and put it in a nice warm place to rise. Then we'll knock it down, let it rise again, and then I'm going to show you something really interesting with a straightforward bread. and you can feel how soft this dough is. It's risen twice already, and what we're going to do is just got to flour it out, and then you're going to roll him out roughly.
Is this a race?
Yeah, no. Okay, muggle, right. It's not perfect stuff. Then, just got to fetch my knife, the feta, and some olives to finish off the bread. Feta, but you got to squeeze the juice out. Otherwise, when you bake it in the bread, it goes very salty.
Okay. Is that the trick? Cheese goes very well with white wine. Would be better with ice.
I can't believe it. $30 a block of ice they charge us here.
Not per block, per packet.
A pack of ice. Sorry, did I say block?
Also, how does the block
That's quite a steep block of ice, huh? So it's going to cost me about $180 of double brandy and coke.
Then you're going to cut wheels away from your mug. And then this is just, a little bit of feta squeezed dry so it doesn't make the bread all soggy or too salty. And then a little bit of olive on the alternate ones. And then here's the interesting part. You're going to take the one over onto the other and then twist it. And then fold it back in. Right, let's go and clean these off. Come back in a couple of seconds. Now, what happens here is that they start browning up, toasting nicely from the bottom side. Then we'll turn it, toast it up the other side. That cheese and olive should infuse nicely into the bread, and then we're almost ready for Gareth. In this pot, I have, if you come take a squiz, I've got a whole lot of sweet potato and butternut. Now, I've parboiled this and just peeled it. That's it. 2 big butternuts and about 12, 14 sweet potatoes. Then what we're going to do is add in some butter, a whole lot. Pinch of salt. Some black pepper for seasoning. I'm just going to crush some quickly. And then you're just going to mash it all together. A little bit of cream. I'm not going to use all of this, because that will make it creamy. And then put your marshmallows on top. Sprinkle them around roughly, and they stick together. So try and separate them. And then sort of 10 minutes before we eat, what we'll do is put it on the fire, cook it up for a couple of minutes, and then it'll be ready by the time the springbok is. I'll just leave that aside for a couple of minutes while I sort out the bread. We've got an assortment of veggies now, green beans, broad beans, and some courgettes, which we're just going to pan fry in some butter with some paprika, because we need a little bit of greens with our whole meal. And then straight after that, I'm going to make the sauce so that we can get on to dinner. It's now time to put this on the go. I'll put this on the side here. Broad beans first, because they're going to take the longest to cook. Paprika. And now a little bit of chocolate and black cherry sauce. 70% dark chocolate. And you can see how hot it is. Look how this chocolate is melting in the sun. Look at that. Hey? Now you know how hot it is here. See that? red wine. Cherries.
And escape, is it too late? 'Cause what else is there I can do with so much left to prove? Oh, so I'll wait and so space till I can keep up with this pace, and I don't wanna join this race. Oh, so I'll wait and so till I don't recognize this place, and I'm just so afraid. But if you give me some space, I won't just get in your way. I need to move all these.
So this is the end of our overland trip through Namibia. We're on top of Dune 45 in the Namibia National Park. This is something that all the overlanders do at the end of their tour. They climb to the top of this dune, they take in the sunrise, they climb back in their cars and they go back to whence they came from. And there's always going to be a part of you that's sad, and a part of you that's ecstatic.